and gentlemen, welcome. This is Monster69 and this is my Hellblade review. Guys, I'm going to do 2 videos on Hellblade because I freaking love this game so much. This particular video will really just focus on, if you like, a normal, what we would call a gaming review based on its mechanics and features of the game. And I want to do another video on my thoughts and what I feel to be the meaning of the storyline for Hellblade and Senua's journey. So let's get stuck into the game itself, guys, and some background. This game was released on August the 8th, 2017 by Ninja Theory on the PC and PS4 platform. The really interesting part about the development of this game, guys, is that the Hellblade creators pretty much stated that this is a independent AAA game, which is kind of blown away all the definitions of AAA and indie games in the kind of standard way that we think of these things. The really amazing part about this game, or the development of this game, is that it only had a core of 15 people working on this game using the Unreal Engine 4. Now, 15 people. When I played this game, I don't know about you guys, but it definitely feels like a AAA game. And it felt like at least 100, 200 people were involved in the development. So when I read that only 15 people were that part of the core team, it really blew me away. And it got me thinking about how, you know, all these other developers with thousands and thousands of people and hundreds of millions of dollars of development money, you know, how do they fail? It's just, it just blows my mind. If these guys can do this with 15 people and pretty much the budget, which is what, like 2% of other AAA developers, it really puts some shame on some of these other AAA developers, I have to say. So not only did they have a small team which produced a AAA game, these guys, I think, did us justice as consumers and priced it accordingly. You can get this game for $29.99 US, which is half the price of a AAA game. So again, another pat on the back to Ninja Theory. And you know, it is a shortish game. I played it in 3 nights. I think I played, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours every night. And finished it after 3 nights. But again, for $29.99, good on you, Ninja Theory, for pricing it appropriately. Now, there are some compromises because it's a small game, but we'll get into that later for sure. But you know what, guys? At the end of the day, Hellblade for me is a unforgettable, a emotional, touching game. I will never ever forget Senua as a protagonist. In fact, she's one of my favorite protagonists of all time. She's definitely my favorite female protagonist. So what more can you ask for, really, for $29.99? Alright, let's get stuck into, I suppose, the more bare mechanics of the game. Now, this game is a third-person puzzler action game, I would say. I think the standard genre would be a combat action game, but I would say it's definitely a narrative driven puzzle game with combat elements in it. It's got a very deep story with very deep characters, but its main mechanic is puzzles, and then combat as a secondary mechanic. It's based on a young Celtic female warrior called Senua. I love that name. If I had a daughter, I would call her Senua for sure. And she set out on a quest with her boyfriend's head attached to her belt as she delves into Nordic hell to retrieve his soul. So that's the kind of overarching quest, if you like, but this game goes way beyond this simple quest. And there's also a massive twist. Senua, ladies and gentlemen, has got psychosis. Senua has mental health issues.
Without his head, you will never bring your soul back. His fate is sealed. Now it can see you at your your weakest. The time you suffered as a child at the hands of your father Sin, no one pined for.
And this is the first game that I've played where the protagonist has mental health issues. And this is really hammered home in the opening credits, where the first or second credit that comes on your screen is the name of mental health professionals. And when I read that, I sat up straight in my couch and I was like, oh my god, this game is serious. And I paid attention from that point onwards. So as a result of psychosis, Senua is constantly, and I mean constantly, hearing voices in her head. She's fighting a certain quote unquote darkness, and you know, she's also seeing glorious colors, and she's trying to identify patterns around her environment, which all seem to be symptoms of people suffering psychosis. But we'll get into that more deep and meaningful stuff in my second video, as I stated before. So let's just try and stick to the core mechanics of the game. And the first one that stuck out is permadeath. So apparently there's permadeath in this game, and I'm not sure if it's real or not, because I died a fair few times, and thankfully I got through to the game. But with the cloud of permadeath above me, and the game kind of tells you that your save file will get deleted if you die too many times, that kind of cloud gave me a adrenaline rush every time I logged into the game. And my greatest fear was getting to the end boss, for example, and dying. So every time I played this game, as opposed to my usual position, which is in my leather recliner, leaning back, fully reclined, I was up straight like a flagpole, and totally focused on every combat scenario to try and stave off my save file from getting deleted. So yeah, permadeath was a thing. The next thing that kind of sticks out is the amazing voice acting. Now, again, the voices in her head, they are constantly either building her up, some of them, or building her down. They are reacting to what you are doing on the screen, which is awesome. They are providing doubt. They are patting you on the back. They are giving you warnings. You know, if you fail, they mock you, and they were really getting to me, and highly effective, I have to say, in kind of, you know, simulating a person experiencing psychosis more so than any medium, like books or movies ever could, simply because of the dynamic system, i.e. it's reacting to what you're doing on the screen. So yeah, the voice acting was absolutely amazing. Not only the voices in her head, but of her father, of her mother, of Dillian and Druth. You know, the voice acting is absolutely 10 out of 10. And as a result, the cutscenes were absolutely amazing. They were emotionally powerful. They were touching. They were sad. They were happy, with excellent facial expressions, excellent acting. Again, a 10 out of 10 for the cutscenes and the voice acting. The graphics are extremely solid. Very much a tribute to that historic period, with the Nordic warriors, with even Senua herself, as a Pict or a Celtic. They had a sort of hazy or sketchy look about them, the graphics, kind of alluding to the fact that, you know, what you're experiencing, is it real? Is it in Senua's head? You don't know, is this a dream? Is it not a dream? So it really, this sort of sketchy, hazy look really kind of, you know, helped sort of push that thought that, you know, is this a dream, or is this happening? Is it real? So yeah, absolutely excellent graphics as well. Now the combat is definitely not over the top. There's no unrealistic like movements. It's not like Devil May Cry. The combat is definitely grounded in what I would say realistic swordplay. There is combinations, you can do counter attacks, and there was even a ultimate ability where you could take down multiple opponents, but it just wasn't over the top. It wasn't, I suppose, deep. But to me it was effective. I enjoyed the combat. Some people might think that it's not deep, which it's not, but it proved its purpose for the sake of this game. The only problem I had with the combat was because the camera was so close to Senua, you couldn't really see behind you at all. But what the developers did was those crazy voices in her head would actually give you a warning if someone was about to attack you from behind. So you not only focused visually on tells in combat, you also audio-wise were keeping an ear out for cues of warning as well, which I actually found to be quite interesting. So the game, as I said, is not a combat action game. It's mainly a puzzler, and the puzzles include spotting patterns in your environment to unlock doors, or aligning symbols to unlock doors, or some of the puzzles, if you want to call them that, were chase scenes where you had to run through, like a correct path to get to the destination in time, or you die. The puzzles I found to be a little bit frustrating, but I think this was done on purpose to kind of reflect on Senua's fight. It's fighting darkness. You're fighting frustration. Senua, you have to show perseverance to overcome these challenges. So I think the sense of frustration was put there on purpose. However, the puzzles could have been a little bit less frustrating whilst kind of staying on point. There was one problem I had where, these puzzle sections, you're kind of meandering around these small zones, trying to align different symbols or trying to find different runes, and I just found the terrain traversal to be frustrating. And what I mean by that is Senua could not, like for example, just climb up a 1 foot little ledge. She couldn't climb up very small obstacles and stuff. So you kind of were going back and forth trying to find the right path to particular spots on the map, and I just didn't see a need for that happen. I don't know again if that's because of the development budget being small, but if they just added a small mechanic where she could climb over small objects, because it's not like it's open world and you go out of the zone, you're stuck in a small zone, so you might as well make the traversal across this zone to be easy as possible. So that kind of was more frustrating than it had to be, but you quickly adapt, I suppose. So yeah, guys, just to wrap it all up in summary, everyone can break down this game and sort of say the puzzle sections were frustrating and average. The combat wasn't the best combat I've ever played, and it was a little bit shallow, and you can kind of pick and prod at the different parts of this game. But Hellblade is a game that is much greater than the sum of its parts. That's really my message to everyone. You cannot break down this game. This game, as a holistic experience, was an absolutely amazing game in my opinion. A young Celtic warrior girl with psychosis, living in a time where people blamed, people with mental health issues for the plague. They blamed people with mental health issues for any sort of bad luck that would happen to them. They'd probably, in all honesty, do worse things and kill them and stuff. So that setting, the characters, the voice acting, the cutscenes, and the storyline was an absolutely amazing experience. It's the only game, comic, book, or movie that or anything, in fact, that has given me a proper insight into what it's like for people to have psychosis. I can read about psychosis, I can watch a movie about it, but nothing has come close to my experience in Hellblade, in experiencing, just 1% of what people with mental health issues experience every day. And I say that with respect to people experiencing mental health issues. I could never get to 50% or 30% of what they experience, but Hellblade has given me a 1%, has opened the door of what it's like to experience mental health issues, and I will never forget this game for that. An absolutely amazing game. I highly recommend it. Go out and buy it. It's only $29.99. You'd be crazy not. It's an awesome game. Hellblade. I love cinema, and I give this game an easy